proximity module interactions, and I'm going to go through a state example, a queue example, and a signal example. And yeah, I can actually put this back. But anyways, yeah. So first things first, there are several different things in the menu that you can enable for messages, like just for debug messages or publishing and all that. And there's tooltips and everything that explain that, but I'm just going to go right into the interactions now. Okay, so each interaction has a name. The raw signals are going to put underscores between spaces, so that's just something to keep track of, and that's told there. You can choose to enable the signal, so this will, like, if you turn this off, it's going to turn off the debug messages that are going to be sent for that signal. And yeah. And then you add tracker pairs here, so you can just drag them in. I dragged in the red and pink ones that I have over here. And then you can also choose what kind of input that you want. Since this is the proximity module, there's only distance and then also closing speed, which is just going to be positive when things are approaching each other, and then negative when things are separating from each other. And then kind. So this is something that is important for the different types of interactions that you can make. I've separated the signals up into three main categories. So a state is going to be a toggle, kind of. So like when an object comes in contact with another object, like maybe something would happen while they're like still like close enough or whatever, and then it'll, like, once they leave, then the switch will turn off and stuff like that. And then a queue is gonna be a pulse when an event happens. So like the example that I'm gonna show you involves like when the trackers are moving, like, I guess generally closer to each other, and it's gonna send like a little a pulse or flash of color into the tile over here. And then a signal is just gonna be like continuous raw data. So in this case, like, it's gonna be the raw distance or closing speed, and you can have the option of clamping the data to maximum and minimum value, and you can also have it scaled to in between 0 and 1. So yeah. But anyways, so the first one that we're gonna do is gonna be, we're gonna make a state, and we're gonna have it be when two objects come within 4 meters of each other, that state is gonna turn on. So yeah, so I have the comparator. So each condition has a bunch of different comparators that you can choose from and to make your inequality. So I want like the threshold to be 4 meters. So it's going to be like when the distance between tracker A and B is less than 4 meters, that state will turn on. And something to note about state timing, and I guess just timing in general, is that each of the different interactions has different timing, like hold parameters that you can mess with to make interactions more, like, I guess, smooth and stable, and do stuff with like users having to stay in a certain place for a certain amount of seconds and whatnot. But at least for the state timing, the hold seconds is gonna allow, yeah, so like, yeah, the condition has to be true for that amount of seconds before it will activate a state. And then a condition has to be false for this amount of seconds to deactivate a state. And yeah, that's all you have to do for setting an interaction in that tab. And then I'm gonna show you how I connected that to a object. So I have made this just like quad with a unlit material that, it can like change color and stuff. And then I made this script. The script is kind of slightly more fancy because I wanted to make it usable for all the other files as like a debug kind of like tile output thing so you can like see and smooth inputs easier like visually and stuff. But you know, the way that you can connect the addresses is really simple in Unity and stuff. And yeah, um if you want to look more into that, there's the code and everything. But I just have this file and I um did some I did the some subscriber, you know, there's this feature bus script that routes the addresses, or you can transfer them together. But anyways, so you just type in the name of your signal and the bus router allows you to choose from whether you want to type the full signal name or you want to type the module ID and then your personal name, or you can just type this one and those will be able to be sent out. But anyways, so at least for the script, you can just, put this in and then choose the colors that you want for the different states and everything. And then I am gonna show you what that looks like. Yeah. So yeah, so when you see the orbs moving closer to each other, you see the states smoothly changing. Um, and yeah, that's the first example. Second interaction I'm going to be showing you is going to be a queue. So this is going to send a pulse when the objects are approaching each other. And this is gonna, I want it to set up to pulse at a certain repeated value. So yeah, you can put your trackers in, and in this case, I'm gonna choose my input as the closing speed. I'm gonna make my kind to be a Q, and then I want the threshold closing speed to be 0.12 meters per second, and then I'm gonna have my comparator be greater than. And for the timing with cues, I want this pulse to repeat while the condition is met. So you can have pulses just send you one message when it enters the state or when it leaves the condition or whatever. And then you can also have stuff that manipulates the holding time and everything. But in this case, I'm just gonna set, the how often I want the pulses to repeat if the proper condition is met for a pulse. And yeah, and then I also have another signal that I made an interaction for. this is going to make a tile change with on a color scale with distance. So yeah, you put your trackers in, and then I have my input as distance, my kind as signal, and for the signal like tab, you don't need to worry about the comparators because it's just raw input, and you can clamp that data to be within a certain range, and you can also scale it to 0 and 1. And you can also smooth it too. So yeah, I'll just show you what these look like. Okay, so now you can see all these different color changes and stuff. So you can see the pulse like flashes going on here. You can also see some gradual like color changes, and you can set the parameters for all those and everything. But yeah,